Attack post behind me. Can I get help?
Just keep coming over to this side, yeah. He's down.
What is...
How'd you do that?
I don't know! Like, I'm gonna upload this round. Like, what is going on? What is my ping right now? 35?
He's down.
Everything is frozen in the air and bouncing and round. It's floating. The rubble from this boat is just flying through the air. What is going on, guys? Craig 1287 here, bringing you yet another Battlefield 4 gameplay, continuing my series looking at post-patch changes to weapons that were fairly affected by the change in the damage model of the weapons, but also some of the other stat changes that happened with the patch. And this time I'm going to be looking at the AUG A3 for the Assault class. And this weapon, I actually didn't really use this weapon all that much pre-patch. I knew what its perk was, that aspect on it that made it stand out from other weapons, but for me it was never enough to make me use it over some of the other guns that were good for long range. Now, what made this gun before the patch so great was its bullet velocity. Now, the patch has not affected its standard bullet velocity. It did see an increase in its suppressed bullet velocity. It went from 340 meters a second to 380. A very slight increase, around the same that everything else has been receiving. A buff by around 40. Certain things have seen less, some slightly more, but 40 is around the same range as everything. So going from 340 to 380 when suppressed. Now, when unsuppressed, the gun still has a 670 muzzle velocity, meters per second. That is incredibly high, and that beats out some of the sniper rifles in the game. It's the highest assault rifle velocity. What this means is that at those long and medium range shots, and even still technically at close range, but you don't have to lead your target as much. The bullet's going to get there much sooner, so you don't have to lead them as much. Now, if you are incredibly proficient with a gun, and you've gotten so used to it that you've got its bullet velocity down pat, and you know exactly how much you have to lead your targets at any range, that you know, okay, that's 50 meters, this is where I need to aim. Okay, they're sprinting now, not just walking, so now I need to lead them by this much. If you've got that down pat, then that's awesome, and you don't really need that gun that does have that crazy high bullet velocity. But there's still a perk to it, in that you can know exactly how much to lead them, but that's if their speed stays consistent. If somebody is trying to do Z dodges, if you're shooting at them at the range, that's a very common tactic. Somebody moves back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and it's called Z dodging, and it's to throw off aim. Typically, it's only effective against snipers, but you can still throw off people's aim and have their bullets miss when it's something like an assault rifle or an LMG. At range. It's not going to help you at medium range, but at long range it will help. So something like the AUG A3 is going to be able to compensate against that, because the bullet, again, is getting there faster. The likelihood of them stepping out of range is drastically reduced compared to something like, we'll go with another very, very common gun that a lot of users like to use, the M416, which has a muzzle velocity of 600. So you're looking at 670 versus 600. Again, that's only a difference of 70, but that's a pretty good increase when you're looking at it as just a percentage basis. I mean, this is more than like a 10% increase, and so that can be very handy. The only thing is, it is a Bullpup, so it's got the magazine feeding behind where the trigger mechanic is. You've got those perks that Bullpups have, in that in shooting this weapon, in every case other than aiming down sight, not moving, it is going to have a tighter bullet spread. Again, this gives it that added benefit of being a great weapon at long range. Because it is a Bullpup, it has longer reload times than other weapons. You're looking at a 3.1 long, 2.5 short reload versus like a 2.4, 1.85 to the M16. The M16's long reload has a shorter reload time than the AUG A3's short reload. So it is very much a long-range weapon. You've got that tight bullet spread when moving or standing still if you're hip firing. The hip fire does help it in those close quarters. And it also, compared to the M416, it does have a smaller spread increase per shot. This is very, very small, incredibly minor, but it's worth noting. It's got a 0.091 spread per shot versus a 0.098. So it is only 0.007. That's still, again, it's all these small details that come together that make it a great long-range weapon now. So why did the AUG never really catch on? Well, it had a good bit of recoil to it. It was an amazing long-range machine, but it had a good bit of recoil. Well, the patch has gone in and changed that. They've reduced its left recoil by a decent amount. It's gone from a left pull of 0.35 down to 0.235. So that's not really 50%, but it's getting there. It's every little bit helps. And it also saw a right pull of 0.25 down to 0.185. So these all really help out, but what helps out almost more than anything is its first shot recoil multiplier. It used to be a 2.4 times increase. Compare that to the 416 that has a 2.2, and a weapon that I've already done in the series, the CZ805, has a 2.1 multiplier. But the AUG has now seen a reduction to 2.1, the exact same multiplier as the CZ805. It has a lower vertical recoil than the CZ805 and the M416, 0.26 versus 0.29 and 0.32 for the CZ805 and M416 relative. For the right recoil, 0.185 versus 0.26 on the 805 and 0.3 on the M416. That's almost 50% less right recoil. That's pretty awesome. It does have the highest left recoil out of all of these, but you want one of those, left or right, to have that standout amount. The weird thing is that it's a left pull weapon. Most weapons in Battlefield 4, the same was true for Battlefield 3, they pulled mostly to the right. The AUG can switch you up on that, so that's something you have to go into it. Otherwise, you're going to be fighting that the whole time. You're going to be pulling down into the left when you need to be pulling down into the right. That is something that I found myself fighting often. I kept forgetting, wait, I need to pull this weapon down and to the other direction. So it beats out both the CZ805 and the 416 in 2 of the recoil categories, and it has a tied first shot recoil multiplier with the CZ805, and it beats out the M416 just ever slightly, but again, it's a multiplier that's smaller, that is multiplying recoil numbers that are also smaller. And then you have the tighter bullet spread, and it beats both the CZ805 and the 416 in that category, because both those are not bullpup weapons. So, in summarization, with all these numbers that I've said, you've got a rate of fire that is just on the M416 and tied with the CZ805, making it, again, that is like the perfect balance between something that can hold its own at close range. Yeah, you're going to lose to AEKs, FAMASs, things like that, but you can still hold your own. It's not something like the SCAR. It's not the AK-12. You're not shooting that slow. So you've got that perfect rate of fire to make it a very well-balanced weapon. You've got the muzzle velocity that is the king of muzzle velocity. You're going to be accurate as all get out at those long ranges. You don't have to lead that much. You've got the overall lower recoil when looking at the up, left, and right. You've got tied for a lower first shot recoil multiplier. It's not as low as something like the L85, but that's for another day. We're looking at these 3 weapons for right now. And then you've got the Bullpup design, which not too many weapons in the assault weapon category that are Bullpup really benefit for those long range actions. They all have a lot of high multiplier or high recoil, something like the FAMAS or the F2000. They can give a lot of kick, making them great close range weapons because of that bullpup bonus and that high rate of fire. But for something like the AUG, where it's lower rate of fire, low recoil, and low multiplier, with those bullpup bonuses, this gun is just a fantastic weapon for long-range engagements that can, again, hold its own at close range. So guys, check out the AUG A3 if you have not already. That CZ805, again, if you want something that has that more traditional kind of weapon design, it's not a bullpup, then go with that. If you want those faster reload times and you want to have that higher aim down sight while standing accuracy, but if you're a player on the move and you still want to be on the move while taking those long range shots, go with the AUG A3. And if you're still rocking the M416, hey, if you're happy with it, that's awesome, but it's got a lot of good competition now post-patch. It's got a lot of competition. It's probably just going to be used now because people are so familiar with it and they've been using it for so long. But there's so many guns out there that beat out things like the M416 and the Ace 23. So guys, check these weapons out. Check out the AUG A3. It is such a long-range beast. Check out the CZ805. It's a great balanced, just very, very high utility on that weapon. So check out these new guns. Hope you've enjoyed the gameplay going on there in the background, and I hope you enjoyed this always unscripted commentary of me just talking out of nowhere with no script. No bullet points, just casual talking. Hope you guys are enjoying that and don't find it too annoying. Hope you've enjoyed it all. Have a good one. Ta-ta.